Pessoal, boa tarde, sejam bem-vindos a mais um webinar da nossa TAM Conference Virtual de 2022. Hoje nós temos aqui o David Sylvester, que é diretor de vendas para Raisbeck Engineering, está com a Raisbeck há muitos anos e vai demonstrar os melhores upgrades que estão disponíveis hoje para a linha King Air, tá? Relembrando que esse webinar vai ser ministrado em inglês, e qualquer pergunta que vocês tenham, vocês podem usar o chat para perguntar e pode fazer a pergunta em português também, tá bom? Que eu faço a tradução para o David. David, welcome. Thank you for joining us to once more a webinar in our TAM conference. Thank you for sharing all your expertise in the best upgrades Raisbeck has for the King Air. And go ahead. This is your turn.
Raquel, thanks so very much to you yourself and also to TAM for hosting me in the webinar. As we all would have seen, the webinar is going to be based on upgrading your King Air and optimizing it essentially. We all know that Beechcraft has done a fantastic job with the King Air line. They've been around since the 60s. They show no sign of letting up, and they've designed a very good product. James Raisbeck, when he founded the company back in 1982. So, I mean, it's 40 years now that Raisbeck has been doing these mods on the King Airs. And we are presently, the premier King Air modifier. We have the widest array of products for the entire line. And as we go through the presentation, you will be able to see the dramatic increases in performance that Raisbeck can give your King Air. And it's not just about speed. It's also about utility. And that's one of the parts that I will be stressing on as we go through the presentation, is the utility of the airplane is enhanced. You can carry more, you can do more, and you can do more under more, what shall I say, restricted conditions, higher altitudes, less runways, better performance. So roughly, we have about, I would say 6,500 to maybe 6,600 King Airs operating in the world. And Raisbeck is on most of them. Every King Air coming out of the factory right now has at least one system on it. And that's a testimony to how widely accepted we've become. Additionally, we don't have any ADs, or we've never been credited with causing any accidents on the King Air line.
And that tells a lot, as the major sales representative for the Textron and King Air in the world. TAM has been seeing increased demand for customers that want to upgrade their airplanes with the King Air. And by the way, we were the first ones in Brazil that completed an epic platinum on a King Air. So it's a tremendous success. All the upgrades you sell are very interesting and cause great performance, and everyone wants it. So thank you for sharing more about it with us.
Oh, you're most welcome. I'm very happy to hear that. I'm delighted that you guys were the first to put on the composite 5-blader in Brazil. I'm sure your customer is happy with the quietness and the speed that he's gained out of that particular modification, and also the performance, which we're gonna get into. But what I'm gonna do right now is that I'm gonna look at the individual systems that we have and just go through them briefly. I don't want to bore anyone to death, but I just want to explain in general how they work. And then we'll get to the really interesting part. When we combine these systems together, we really optimize your performance and you can utilize it. So first of all, our swept propellers. And these 5-bladed swept composites are our newest product. They're a pride and joy, especially on the King Air 200 and 350. And these are the propellers that Raquel was just referencing that we put on to a 250. And he has the entire Epic Platinum package. Our primary advantages on our swept propeller systems is that out of the factory, the propellers came in at about 93 inches. We've increased the diameter on those. And in increasing the diameter, we are now able to move a larger mass of air. From this much, we can move this much more air. And that's huge in of itself. So we have the longer diameter blade here. And then when you look at the propellers, you'll see that both the front and the back of the propellers are swept. And strangely enough, what we are in effect achieving there is a longer propeller effective diameter with less noise. The last note that you'll see there mentioning customized airfoils for increased propeller efficiency is that this photo gives a beautiful demonstration of how much that blade is twisted at each individual station. And it's done so that we can wring the optimum performance out of every inch of that blade. Here you get a little bit better effect. You see very definitively how the front of that propeller is curved. But on the back side, there's also a curve as well. When you look at the 250 OEM 4-bladed composite right now as it comes out the factory, you'll note that the front side is curved, but the back end is straight. And that's called a scimitar, and it's not swept. In our case, both the front leading edge and the rear trailing are swept. And that's where we say we get a larger diameter blade with less penalty. When we discuss drag on a propeller, the longer the blade is, the more drag is felt at the tip, because the tip has to travel at a higher speed than the inner portion of the blade. And we deliberately swept this portion to enable us to get a longer blade that didn't make as much noise. The other thing we then did was to optimize the twist in the blade. And this twist in the blade, we try to wring as much thrust as we can out of every portion of the blade. It mentions there's approximately 10% more twist than our competitors. And there's a more efficient tip angle. And when I go on to the next couple of slides, you'll see where we've really tried to take into account everything on the aircraft, because we've taken into account where the nacelle is, where the engine is, to get this performance. Most propellers tend to pull air and then shunt it backwards. And as it's pulling air, it's essentially putting it towards the engine nacelle. Our design on the propeller is designed to focus the air outside of the nacelle, with the exception of this small inboard portion here, which we want to utilize to, in effect, supercharge the air into your inlet. So we have our twist optimized in at the bottom area here to shove more air into that inlet, rather than just the entire blade being one angle and pulling. We use the outer portion of the blade to direct more of the air around the cowling so that we don't lose any propulsive force. And this is where I was talking about, if you look at the older propellers, this area tends to be circular in cross section. It's almost like you pick up a baseball bat and you're going to swing it.
Exactly that. Mm-hmm.
It gives you zero aerodynamic efficiency. We take it and we give it a profile, and then we push that air, and I'll just go back into, we push that air into that inlet rather than just creating, a dead zone, so to speak. We utilize it, and this in conjunction with our ram air recovery system improves the efficiency of the engine. Now, what are our benefits from this? The benefits that accrue from this are greater acceleration, increased climb performance. You'll get a lot shorter landing distances. In fact, most of the pilots, when they get them, they're impressed by the fact that their use of reverse thrust or propeller reverse is greatly reduced. Most of the pilots tell us they don't really need propeller reverse anymore. And last but not least, capability to operate at a lower RPM. With our 4-bladed sweeps and 5-bladed sweeps, you can pull the RPM back to like 1600 RPM. And it's huge in terms of making a difference with your cabin occupants. Their perceived decibel levels is dramatically reduced. And whilst our 4-bladed swept aluminum is good, our 5-bladed propeller is even more dramatic in terms of talking about noise reduction, particularly in the cabin. I mean, that's the one thing in which everybody is being, this is fantastic. And I'm sure that Raquel, your customer, can speak to that. I think it was BY 137 off the top of my head.
Yes, and they are delighted with the performance. Like, they don't regret at all of doing that investment because they saw the benefits.
Outstanding. Well, let's talk about some of the benefits of composite propellers. And I know that there's been a lot of reluctance on operators to adopt the composite propeller. Oh, it's not as durable. Yeah, but does anybody know how to work in it? We can't repair it. Well, I'm here to tell you, the composite propeller is a much easier propeller to maintain than an aluminum propeller. And here's the good news. When we work on an aluminum propeller, we take the aluminum propeller, we dent it. We dent it at the tip. The first thing we have to do is blend it. And then if it's out of limits, we're gonna shave it, we're gonna cut it. And then we have to cut all the other 3 blades. So now we've decreased your performance. On the fiberglass or the composite propeller, it's like fiberglass. It's like your car. You dent it, you fill the dent. You may need to reinforce the dent with a layer of composite mat, but you fill it back and you get back your original contours of the propeller. And you do this every overhaul, or you do it in the field. You can repair these in the field. Hartzell has some very good YouTube videos on how to repair these composite propellers. And it's not as hard as most people think. It's not as complicated. That is one. And when we say all of that, what does that mean? It says to you, you have a composite propeller, you're never gonna lose the performance that you had when you bought it. because every time you overhaul it or every time you repair it, you're getting back the original shape, profile, length, etc. Now, that being said, it doesn't mean if you deliberately run it into a airport light, the blade won't break. Or if you choose to hit a bird that didn't see you, you won't have damage. But it's very interesting because Hartzell has a video that shows them shooting a bird, or I should say a dead bird, into their composite propeller at a high speed, simulating flight. The propeller blade flexes, bends, then come back to shape. Did they have to replace it? Yes. But it sustained and survived the hit. All I'm going to say right now is that you cannot do that with wood. You can do it with a composite, but you can't do it with wood. The other good thing, the durable nickel. And when you look at these edges are some of the hardest metal you've got known to man. Now, I'm not going to tell you to fly into a brick runway or an unprepared strip and then slam it into reverse. But we trialed these propellers in Australia in the desert for like 4 months, 150 hours. And the biggest problem he had was pitting on the backside of the blade here. He had little pits, but on the leading edges, they withstood the damage. They withstood the rough ride. Lighter weight. You're gonna save about 50 pounds versus the OEM propellers. Now 50 pounds is 50 pounds more baggage, it's 50 pounds more fuel. Your choice to make.
Any saving on weight is good for
Oh,
aviation.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that's awesome.
And then the big one, I mean, the one that everybody's been happy with, particularly the owners, that 1/3 noise, and that's perceived noise throughout the airplane. Particularly in the cabin, your owners are going to be very happy. We've got almost a 17% performance gain in the runway. The propeller reversing, you can see there. And then another big thing there, unlimited blade life. You don't have to throw that blade away. And just so you know, unlimited blade life as defined by the FAA is 50,000 hours or more. And that's a lot of time. Your overhaul is 1 year longer and 1,000 hours more than your aluminum propellers. And then on top of that, we cap it off with a 3-year, 3,000-hour warranty. So you pay more, but you get a whole lot more from this propeller. And like it says, I mean, you got a propeller for life with performance for life.
So with that overhaul interval, we know that we can upgrade anytime, but if you're coming due for overhaul, maybe it's also a good time for upgrading, right?
Oh, absolutely. You know, absolutely. We do not require your cores back, you know, before you get our propellers. You can bring your cores in, ask TAM to help you sell them, get some money back for them, and then you can just use that towards a new set of propellers. I will say this. You might want to know, well, okay, you're pushing the composite propeller, but you still have a 4-bladed swept. What's the difference? The difference is this. Your 5-bladed composite is the top of the line, best noise reduction out there, and best performance. But your 4-bladed aluminum delivers almost the same performance, not quite there. It's not as quiet either. It's a good value. So if you're looking, let's say, for example, at cars, you know, you didn't get the Bugatti. You didn't get the Bugatti in the 5-bladed composite, but you know, you took a Mercedes-Benz with the 4-bladed aluminum. So you get good performance at a better price. And in both cases, both propellers are way better than what is on coming out of the factory. And it's a significant difference. Particularly as we combine it with these other systems that we're about to start going through. This is our ram air recovery system. Now we're going to talk about, and this can make a huge upgrade to older King Airs. The big important part here, OEM standard equipment on the King Air 250. So all the new models of the aircraft coming out of the factory have this equipment installed.
So if the manufacturer, in this case, Textron, Beechcraft, if they recognize that this is a good value and brings performance to the airplane, and if you still don't have it on your King Air, maybe it's time to consider it, right?
Absolutely.
Tells a lot.
Not only that, it tells you even more, and because James Raisbeck did not copyright his design, they basically took this design and put it on their 350. And James didn't get anything.
Wow, that's
Oh, wow, indeed. So what does this do? We provide an 18-degree reduction in ITT at equal torque. So your engine is running that much cooler, or you can take a 10% increase in torque or power at altitude. I know you're not very likely to run into icing, but you have our ram air recovery system, you are cooking. And it makes a very big difference to the breathing of the engine. All the components highlighted in gold, these are the pieces that we do, that we add in for the ram air recovery system. Basically, you're going to see our particle separator with the flap here, a turning vane, ice shedder, bypass door seals, diaphragm seals. The diaphragm seals are very important. And this little turning vane flap, as you're going to see shortly in the video, is going to blow your mind, because it just shows you the, what's the word? The smartness and the sheer simplicity of the design from James Raisbeck. Now this is your factory. I mean, you're going to see the air coming in from the inlet, and it's leaking at the back here. It's leaking on the side here. And some of it is going in. Now you put in the Raisbeck and we seal off the back, and we're running it through that little curved particle separator. The back and the front are now sealed. All the air coming in is now being directed into that inlet. Now here's a nice little tidbit to know. You deploy our ice vanes. The efficiency of our system is such that with our ice vanes deployed and losing some air out, you're still making more power than the OEM installation. And not only that, you can deploy these ice vanes on the ground as FOD protection. You deploy them, you have more power on the ground, and you have protection. You're doing better than the stock aircraft out of the factory.
So not only you increase performance, but you also have more safety.
More safety.
When you install the ram air.
It's insurance, you know, so think of it that way. And that's why Black Hawk usually will recommend, listen, if you're going to pay $1 million to put Dash 52s on your airplane, put a set of ram air recoveries on them as well. It's like insurance for free.
Yeah, we'll have the Black Hawk team on the webinar tomorrow, and they are going to talk about it as well.
Great. So there you go. It's a simple little thing. The only thing that really changed is that he put in a turn-in vane. Think of this as a fixed turbocharger. He pressurizes the air coming in and speeds it up into the intake. It's genius. These are our ice shredders. Again, this is the OEM. You see the spacing there. All James did was to make sure that he utilized every available amount of space. And this little change of design and pattern led to almost 20% more air going through that shredder when you deploy the ice vanes. And this is very tough. I mean, I've seen them take one of these ice shedders and smack it. I mean, really, really smack this against a pointed edge. There wasn't even a dent on it.
So it's very structural. So it's going to, last. It's not just some ice that is going to create damage to that, right?
No, it's extremely durable. Very, very
Great.
durable. So what we get out of this, you get a significant or a dramatic reduction in ITT. And there we go. Ice vanes may be deployed at any time, including taxi and takeoff when outside temperatures are up to ISA plus 27. So basically you got FOD protection from startup to shutdown. And with the reduced ITT, you're looking at longer life, engine life, and reduced overhaul expenses. Our performance leading edges, and not a simple tweak. Nothing fancy at all here, guys. This is very simple. If we look at this airplane, I presume most of you guys have seen the 200. You're going to see that that droop, that inboard portion there is noticeably drooped. And this happened because Beechcraft, when they brought this airplane out, this was a T-tail. And they were scared that with this T-tail, they could get into a deep stall situation. So they drooped this leading edge portion inboard so that it would stall quicker and they'd be able to recover it. What they failed to realize was that most of the time, that deep stall was never going to be an issue. They didn't realize that. So all James did was to correct that. On the Raisbeck side, there is no droop. To demonstrate it, there's the droop. There's a big, flat, almost, I mean, it looks flat, but it's, as I like to say, it looks like a bulldozer. So this is your droop leading edge. And this is James Raisbeck correcting it and making it a conventional leading edge. You're going to blow your mind when you see the next video, which shows you what that does to the airplane wing and the structure. This is the factory. This is Raisbeck's. You see the lift distribution and the loads.
Wow, that's tremendously different.
It's very uniform over here. It's more spread out along the entire wing. It's not just the outboard portion. I want to remind you, gentlemen, that your wing attached bolts are out here. That's where your wing attached bolts are. So when you have this loading on the outside, you've got that much more force pushing up. Whereas if you look over here, it's a lot less. It's distributed evenly across the wing. But let's run with it. 140. 170, 200. There's the wing loading comparison. The Raisbeck load distribution hasn't changed. It has not changed at all. Meanwhile, over on this side, it's like, oh my gosh. And guess what happens when you're doing all of that? You're getting work on those bolts, and you've got 4 bolts taking all that load. Mind you, I don't know of any bolts that have failed, but I will tell you that we have an operator in Canada. He runs 9 King Air 200s, 250s. All his airplanes that have the Raisbeck leading edge don't have scarring on the bolts. On his older ones that have the factory leading edge inboard, it's always been an issue to get them out, and they're always scarred from working.
Yeah, and the wing bolts on the King Airs, they're subjected to scheduled inspection. And I guess that tells us why, we have to, I guess it's every 5 years, if I'm
Every
not
5
mistaken.
years, absolutely. You're
Yeah.
on it. Every 5 years,
And
you need to pull
you have
those
to check
bolts.
that to make sure that load is not causing damage to the boat. So if you have the Raisbeck leading edges, then it's going to be something more steady, I would say. You wouldn't have as many surprises on the wing bolts inspection.
For
right?
sure. But not only that, we also give you better climb and field performance. And now that we make the wing a normal wing, your stall speeds go down because it's more effective. It's a better wing. The loading that we see all the way through is uniform. And then as well, the intercooler sits in the left-hand wing root, and the air flows through it a lot better with our design. So you're cooler, especially during summer. Okay, one of my favorites. This, guys, is the one little thing that you should ever do in a King Air. Doesn't look like much, but it's a big difference. Particularly in 300s, 350s, and also in the 200 series. It's the strake. It's standard on the 350s now, and before they stopped making the C90s, it was also standard on the C90s. What do? We basically take these 2 smaller strakes and we try to create a funnel of air or a jet of air through these, rather than using a solid piece of metal to provide directional stability. So the air moving through this now provides the stability instead. And this is what we do. On the 350, if you got an older 350, if your yaw damper goes out, you cannot fly at altitudes of more than 5,000 feet. We raised that to 19,000 feet. Similarly, that's huge difference. On the 300, 11,000 feet goes to 18.5. 200, B200, B200 GT. 17,000 feet is your max. You put our strakes on, you have no limit. Your yaw damper is in up, go. You want to fly over a mountain, go. Here's a summary of the benefits. It's a quieter ride. A lot of people might know of when the propeller vortices come off and start hitting that single fuselage in the center in the OEM aircraft, you tend to get a thumping sound, a kind of a booming sound. And our strakes remove that, because then all you have is air passing over the fuselage.
And you know what, David? DABS is definitely the most popular Raisbeck upgrade that we've installed here at TAM. And immediately, what the pilots report to us is that they feel better control of the airplane. It's something they sense. They don't even need to know that it has DABS. And they also report that the passengers feel more comfortable inside the airplane, because of that stability. So definitely, if there is one to choose that, because it's a great price and is, you know, immediate benefit. You see it every single mission.
So true. And like you said, I mean, it's a great value for what it does. It's unexpected, the big difference in change that a lot of people will feel. Well, high flotation gear doors, I mean, I'm not sure how many people have it in Brazil. I know there's a lot of rough strips out there, but this is basically, again, we just fixed a problem for Beechcraft. You know, when Beechcraft, you know, said, oh, we're going to do these stronger, tougher landing gears, it's going to give you a softer landing. Well, guess what? They give you the bigger, tougher landing gear, but then they saved money by cutting your gear door in half because the wheel couldn't fit. So they told you, well, here's your nice soft landing gear. Let's leave your tire hanging out. So you got about this much hanging outside, and you lost about five to 6 knots of performance. So all James did again is covered it up. As simple as that, he covered it up. So you basically got back all your performance. There's no drag out there, and simple and sweet. And that was how much, I mean, your speed, if you've got a high float gear door with those wheels dropping out into the airflow, it's as much as 4, I would say 4 to 6 knots. I'm not sure about 10. James had a way he liked to, you know, boast a little bit, you know, but it's a big difference. And particularly it adds up. If you have one of these airplanes, you get 4 more knots, you get a lot less drag, you get better fuel flows. And last but not least, I think you guys need to slow down on this, Raquel. Really, I mean, you're.
But it's so popular, everyone wants it. So I'm sorry, you need to produce it more. You know.
We're trying. I mean, we've changed vendors and we've had issues with the supply chain that are continuing to plague us. But this by far is one of our most popular mods, which is the crown wing lockers. What this does basically, guys, is that you've got 600-pound more luggage capability in your wings. From the C90 through to the 350, if you take a look at this aft portion here, that size in there is not changed. They've stretched the cabin all sorts. You go from 4 to 8 to 10, but the back baggage compartment is still the same. And that's where this baby really shines. You can put your guns, your fishing rods, your golf clubs, your airline bags. You can put them in there. You get your cabin back. So you're not tripping over stuff. And not only that, you put them on and you suffer no aerodynamic penalties. It doesn't slow you down.
And you know what? That picture is really good, because what's being also tremendously popular here, we've installed it a lot, are the dual aft jump seats.
Yes.
So you're losing the baggage compartment to a couple of seats, so you need room for more luggage. Absolutely. So that's why we've been also installing a lot of a crown wing blocker, because of that as well. So people, you know, they want all passengers in, but you know what? There's luggage, so where you put it. So
I am glad you brought that up, because where we're coming to now in terms of the platinum kits, where we put everything all together, this is going to be very important. Epic performance packages. When we take all those kits that I just finished talking about and we put everything together, we can give you better performance. We can give you better utility. So Raquel just mentioned, you've got a 200, you just installed 2 jump seats in the aft. And what do you usually have? Maybe you got double club seating, you got 8 people, passengers, and then you put 2 more in the back. But what's your maximum takeoff weight? 12,500 pounds. But it doesn't always work out that you're at an altitude or that you're at an airport where you can carry 12,500 pounds. You got to make a trade-off. You got to choose fuel or you got to choose passengers. But you got to give something up. And that's the beauty about our Epic packages. You put all these kits on and you get an aircraft that has better performance, better fuel, and it can take off in much stricter conditions, much more harsh conditions, higher temperatures, shorter runways, and you're still legal. So let's take a look at the 200 series. For the 200 series, what are the elements? First, we need to put on the propellers, the leading edges, the strakes, and the ram air recovery. Those are the 4 main ones: props, leading edges, strakes, and the ram air. If you have high float gear doors, high flotation gear, you will need the gear doors. The lockers are optional. Now, what do we give you? This is what we give you. Look at that difference in distance over 50 feet takeoff, and that's 12,500 pounds. That's sea level ISA. That's 30% improvement in takeoff performance. That's nearly 1,100 feet less runway that you're coming out of. Factory 200, Part 25, balance field length, not certified. You have a Raisbeck Epic Platinum, you can do balance field length. So for you charter operators out there, this is great news. You can meet balance field length requirements. My favorite part is look at your approach speed. From 99 knots, you drop it 10 knots. You're getting into Cessna 206 categories there, right? You can fly a 206 or an Islander at these speeds. That's how good this is. Your landing distance over 50 feet with no propeller reverse. Again, that's between 25 and 30% runway takeoff or landing improvements.
Absolutely. What makes the King Air so popular here in Brazil as well is, the runways we have available. And if you can operate with, that amount of weight, 12,500 pounds, with less runway for takeoff and landing, that makes you have a better use of what a King Air can offer. So it's really the point here for the Brazilian operators. That is a huge difference.
Well, I'm going to say it to you this way. You paid big money for that 200. I mean, you paid money for that 200. You paid to have 12,500 pounds. What Raisbeck is doing, we're giving you your 12,500 pounds. We're ensuring that that's what you can carry. If you guys don't mind and bear with me, because I'm new to the Zoom thing, I want to show you a workup we did for one of our customers.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, let's go. I don't know if any of the guys, but this is where we're looking at. This is a Epic Platinum B200. Takeoff performance improvement, all engine takeoff, flaps up, and we're in Chile at an altitude of 2,000 feet, and that's your runway length, 3,700 feet roughly. If you're Raisbeck, All the way across is your max takeoff weight, all the way down to 48 degrees C. At 15 degrees C, if you're in a stock 200, bad things start to happen. Your weight is going down. So by the time you hit 30 degrees C, you're down 1,000 pounds. Now, if we're to consider one engine in op, your requirements, we're still carrying 1,800 pounds more safely than your OEM airplane at this altitude and at these temperatures. That's where the real beauty of the Epic Platinum is that as a pilot, as an operator, you have a larger margin of safety. From this, it goes to this. You're on approach, you're coming in slower, you have more time to react, you're stabler, you're not fighting, you have more time.
Dave, I just received a question. A key here is, I guess, it's someone that might be a pilot or in the operations department. They are asking all that performance for either for the Epic or the individual systems. Yeah. If that, once you install it, do you have to go with the authority for some sort of LOA? Or does that performance come in some sort of a flight manual supplement? And if there is any website, they can check that information.
When you combine the elements of the Epic Platinum, Raisbeck gives you an FAA-approved flight manual supplement. So you don't need a separate LOA. Once you install the Epic Platinum, we give you the flight manual. There you go. Here are all your charts. Here's all your performance. Here's what you have to reference to. So no, you don't need to get an LOA. What I will say is that we do that FAA-approved flight manual supplement with all this performance increase when you do all the kits together in the Epic Platinum. On the individual kits, you may get a flight manual supplement, but we didn't do performance increases in them. It just wasn't feasible. It is so expensive to do anything under the US FAA. By the time we finish categorizing the performance, we would be broke. Wow. Honestly, I mean, they're very, very unreasonable.
So if they do the Epic combination, then you get the FAA AFM supplement. So once you have the STC installed with the release from TAM, like here what you call the SEGVO 001, the form that is
the form 337 equivalent. Absolutely.
Yes, the equivalent to the 337. You will get the AFM, and that will be enough for you to start operating in that limits.
Exactly.
In those limits. Okay.
Now, not a favorite thing here. Cruise speeds, 11 knots. This is on a Dash 52, guys. But this is also very similar. I mean, across the board on the 200s with the Dash 41s and the Dash 42s, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see between 10 to 14 knots cruise speed and performance. Now, you didn't have to buy new engines for this, guys. This is all aerodynamics. So therefore, what you end up with is a lot cheaper. It's a lot cheaper. You probably had to overhaul your propellers in any case, or replace them, depending how old the airplane is. And then it's a case. You don't have to do all of them together. I like to call it bill an epic. You do the strakes 1 year or one inspection. You do the Ramir another inspection. And then you do the leading edges another inspection. And guess what? Oh, I got to do my propellers. Well, now's a good time to add my propellers. And I have an Epic Platinum. 10 to 15 knots faster. I'm coming in slower. And I'm a lot safer. I got so much more margin of error.
So if you do like a 4 or 5 year cash flow for that investment, you do little by little, and then by the end you build an epic platinum without having to invest it all at once, and you still get the benefit from being an epic platinum at the end.
Exactly. Exactly. And not only that, I mean, as you're going along, you're experiencing the various benefits. I mean, say you did the propellers initially, then you've got a way quieter airplane. Next time you get a chance, you have a little bit of spare money, put a set of strakes on. You know, do it when you can. At the end, you will have. And the thing about Raisbeck is when you put your Raisbeck on, you will get your money back on the Raisbeck. You will not lose money because you put Raisbeck on an airplane. As a matter of fact, if you have two airplanes to sell in basically the same condition, one with Raisbeck and one without Raisbeck, guess which one is going to sell first?
Absolutely.
So kind of sum it up. I mean, improve performance all the way around, guys. Quieter operation. I mean, the 5-bladed composite and the 4-bladed swept aluminums are difference makers in the cabin noise category. They really do. When the guy was testing the 5-bladed composite in Australia, he was flying crews out to the desert to do drilling for oil. And they would get really upset with him. No, 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 no. Why did you bring this old one? We don't want the old one. We want the fancy one with the 5-bladers. It's so quiet in there. We can talk.
And the thing about the fuel savings, I don't know in US how it's going, but here in Brazil, fuel price has skyrocketed. So we have to save money on fuel every single way we can, because it's being tough, you know.
No, it's crazy right now. I'm aware.
Yes.
I just heard about it, and I'm like, I can't imagine you guys are paying so much for jet fuel.
Yes, it's very expensive now.
Okay, I mean, this is like your guys' favorite airplane in all of Brazil. I couldn't believe how much C-90s were in Brazil. I was like, really? Did they
Yes.
take everything out of the United States and put it there? But
It's a huge fleet here.
exactly. And in this case, I would say to you that for the C-90 is the Epic for the C-90 is the best value anywhere in our lineup. You put on a set of these 4-bladed swept propellers, the dual aft body strakes. Lockers again are optional, but if your airplane is older, you're going to be able to increase your gross weight up to 10,500 pounds. For older C-90s, that's anything from a 400-pound to an 800-pound gross weight increase. 400 pounds, 2 passengers, 800 pounds, 4. Hey, I'm carrying more. And if it's not passengers, you can carry it in fuel. You don't have to make trade-offs. Now, this is on the PT6-135A. If you guys don't mind, I'm gonna do a share again to show you the C-90 because I want to show you the older ones as well.
I just love those brochures. They're available on the website, right? We have our
Yes.
pocket guides here at
Yeah.
TAM, but I know they are also on your website, right?
Absolutely. Here you go. That's our website, and you go down there and you just go over to resources and you click on that, and then you'll have the pocket reference, swept blade propeller brochure, the King Air C-90 series epic brochure. Okay, for those guys with the Dash 21 engines, here we go. 400 to 850 more pounds. Fuel or passengers, your takeoff distance goes down 20%. Climb gradient, same, but 400 pounds heavier. We give you a higher maximum cruise ITT. Landing distance, not as big an improvement, but landing gross weight, 100 pounds more. But these two things here, 400 to 850 pounds more, 22% shorter. And that's how it stacks up. When you look at it, that's a 3,000 foot runway, sea level ISA. At 22 degrees, you're carrying 10,500 pounds. At 18 degrees on a stock C90A or B, look at where you can safely carry. That's what you're safely carrying. 8,000 pounds. That's huge. Even at, that's minus 10. I mean, look at the difference in what you can safely carry.
So on Raisbeck, Raisbeck's website, if I have a C90 straight Alpha Bravo, we can check for the specific brochures for the performance. And then if you have a GT, GTX,
it's on the same brochure. I mean,
oh, it is in the same brochure. Okay.
Absolutely. But they can click right there on our website. They can find all of this. They can find this all there. And again, Raisbeck flaps up 10,500. And you're getting off of there, sea level ISA in under 2,000 feet. So big improvements, big safety factors. You know, that's almost what, 2,700 feet, less than 2,000. And guys, on the Epic, let me get back into my screen share, sorry. On the Epic for the C90, the value lies in the fact that a propeller, for the price of a propeller plus maybe $10,000, you have an Epic. So if you were going to overhaul your propellers anyway, add $10,000 and make your C90 an Epic. You'll love it. It'll be quieter from the propeller. It'll be quieter from the strakes. And you've got 20% improvement in performance pretty much everywhere. We don't claim the cruise speed increase, but I can tell you that with our swept blade propellers, they're better than our original quiet turbofans by about 3 to 5 knots. And even our original quiet turbofans give a couple of knots. So you will see a little bit of speed increase. And if you guys need any information, all you got to do is hit up Raquel and I'll find reviews for you so that you can see what this airplane can really do. And at this point, Raquel, I'm pretty much done. As they just saw, Raisbeck.com is a great source for pretty much everything. And if they need the flight manual supplements, I can provide you so that you can give it to any of the customers if they want to see what they will gain. And if they have any questions at all for me, I'm willing to answer anything.
Yeah, no, the question was more of where to find the information. So here it is. The website has it. Our salespeople at TAM, I can be contacted. Rafael is the business manager. He's also can be contacted, and the whole sales team is prepared to answer those questions. And David, this is amazing. Really good value for upgrades. And as you said, it's nothing that we have to do at once. You can do it little by little and build your Epic, and then have a very, very differentiated King Air compared to the market. You're gonna fly better with more performance, fuel savings, shorter runways, you know.
Quiet.
What else
quiet.
can you ask for?
You know, ask BY-137 how quiet he is.
That's great, David. Thank you so much for sharing all this information. We're gonna post this video later for reference on TAM's YouTube channel. So every now and then someone will go there and check all the information. And also please, as we appreciate everything Raisbeck has been doing to support TAM on these installs. And I'm sorry you made something so popular there. We are asking a lot.
Well, I'm grateful.
I'm gonna make sure you have an extra orders until the end of the year, okay?
That would be wonderful. But I'd like to thank everybody for coming in. I mean, I really appreciate you guys joining us on TAM for this. And please contact TAM, or even if you want to reach out to me directly. We're all available. We're very accessible, and no problem at all. Just let us know what you wish to do. Good luck, and I wish you guys all an epic afternoon. So have a wonderful day. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.